You are now listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc, sharing insights through real, honest, and practical ways to improve your communication and relationships. Featuring your hosts, Dr. Pamela Kreiser, Meredith Edwards-Nagel, and Taylor Polindo.
All right, so we're flashing back this week to 53 and 55, and I just want to know if you're the worst at saying how you feel, because sometimes I am. For example, ever have words just get all trapped up in your chest and your head, and you just don't know how to make them come out. It's an example would be writing with emojis, but the one you want doesn't exist yet. Check out these clips and get an idea to share how you really feel instead of getting trapped in your head.
Before we get on with more labels, why do we care about labels? We care because the person hearing that message is not getting information if we always say we're stoked or pissed. They're not getting much information from us.
So we care about labels here because it creates more information for the listener we're in relationship with.
Absolutely.
And for us, on our end, I want to care more about the labels because I want to understand better the people I'm in relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think recognizing them too and getting in the practice of saying, let's give more information, not less, so that our partners can love us better. Because if we just say I'm stoked or I'm just pissed, it's pretty broad to just have those be your two speeds all the time. And then I hear people sometimes, I teach in the conflict area, and I'll hear people say, well, people don't get me. People just don't get anything about me. And I think sometimes when I hear that sentence, what do you give them to get?
It's a really, really good point.
Yeah. So we want to give information that allows people to get us a little more. And sometimes people won't even label it. They'll just run around slamming doors. What am I supposed to do with that? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that even means. I could ask you about it, but if you can't label it, I still don't know much.
I feel like this reminds me of boundaries and how we talked about that's like a guidebook on, helping someone love you. And this is another way, this is about trying to stay in relationship with people and make those relationships better, healthier, deeper. Yeah. And this is another tool that will do that.
All right. So now let's go to 55 and you can work on a little more of this area of your life.
When we're out of balance, when we're not regulating, then we have allowed the negativity to kind of overtake us. So here are a couple of the things that different researchers talk about. They talk about things related to physiology, like breathing. They talk about sleeping as a way to regulate your emotions, having healthy relationships. I mean, if you think of the other side of this, all these things keep us up. When you don't sleep, you have worse sleep, right?
Yeah.
If you don't breathe. I mean, I've had stressful situations where I found myself holding my breath and I'm I think I'm stressing myself out. Because I'm so anxious or upset about this thing. Other things on the list, the things that we say to ourselves about ourselves, I shouldn't be thinking this or feeling this. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't be feeling this bad or this good. How we attach meaning to our lives, and wait for it, our levels of forgiveness, which of course we did a series on that.
Yeah, that was a big topic, very important.
From the forgiveness research, holding on to unforgiveness is the problem that we talk about a lot in those episodes. Yeah. The idea that unforgiveness keeps me in that state where I'm tethered in the jail cell that I occupy, right?
Right, yeah. Giving a lot of power to something else over you.
Yeah.
So what I know I'm going to wrestle on this topic with is, I think it is that it's going to be the regulating. It's that angst between wanting to, in a healthy way, communicate to someone how I feel and what I need. And also sometimes just wanting to why do I have to do this so politically correct or so, whatever, X, Y, and Z? Why can't I just say the thing that's happening? And why can't we just talk about it?
Well, is regulating what you're talking about, the expressing part, or is it the actual emotions you're feeling?
The E and the R. So E is expressing and R is regulating. And those are the last two components of what Brackett says makes us emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm. So it's not just expressing our feelings. It's regulating ourselves as emotive beings.
So kind of taking control and maybe changing. If you constantly angry about something, then regulating that would be to change being angry as your response. You want to change. I'm
Right.
going
So you
to
could change your thoughts, you could change your breathing, you
Yeah.
could change your sleep patterns, your nutrition. There's a lot of things that go into that.
So it's actually changing how you feel about something, where not just the expression of it, right? We want
I
to
don't
change.
know if it's how you feel. I think it's addressing the physical aspect and the lifestyle aspects and patterns that would affect those outcomes negatively or amplify their negativity, maybe.
So when you have a feeling, then you're going to change. Well, that would be the expression, right? You're not going to scream and shout and lose your cool.
Well, ideally, we do both. So ideally, we express well and additionally regulate, giving space to the positive and reducing the negatives.
Okay.
So when we're emotionally intelligent, we have that in balance.
Okay.
And that's because of the ability to express. So we should talk about expressing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we do a real, I need to feel this in real time.
Well, before we talk about expression, I want to make one other distinction that Adler talks about. And it's something that I talk a lot about when I lecture on this topic. There's a difference between feeling, talking, and acting. There's feeling, of course, and we've talked about the sensations in the body. There's talking about it, but acting is a different thing. And I think sometimes people feel intense emotions such that they take action sometimes that are not positive.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us can be the
I can think of many examples from my youth or maybe earlier today. But
or be on the receiving end of somebody that doesn't know how to regulate themselves.
Right.
It can be painful.
It can be painful. It can be regretful. Having an intense sensation or intense emotion doesn't equal the ability or right to act on that thing.
Right.
All the time deal with parties in these harassment cases that I mediate, and people will say, I had no choice but to hit him, or I had no choice but to do this thing. And what they're commenting on is that failure to distinguish between the idea of certain emotions and their intensity, and then that entitling you to a course of actions. So that's just my little caveat that I had to throw in there.
I think that end of what you just said is very important. If you're someone that is struggling regulating your emotions, or you've experienced on the receiving end of someone that doesn't know how to regulate, you said that you feel, say that again, you feel entitled to
a certain set of behaviors because of the intensity of the feeling.
And that, I think, is the pause that I would want, in my own mind and in the mind of someone I'm in a relationship with, is why do you think that you're entitled to that behavior?
A lot of times it comes from just the intensity, but part of what we need to do to enhance our emotional intelligence is recognize that intensity doesn't equal that. It doesn't equal permission.
Yeah. Okay, so remember, that's episode 53 and 55 about how to express your emotions.
Once again, thank you for joining us today. Please remember to rate, share, and subscribe to our podcast. And thank you for listening to Asking for a Friend.
Let us know what you thought of the episode. Our email is hello@afafpodcast.com. This show is for educational purposes only and is copyrighted. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. Thanks for listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc.